Joe Biden thinks that he can assemble a team of Republicans to help take down Trump. There's something bigger at play with this team of rivals. Great story. It's a great story. Take it from there. Okay, let's take it from there.
Well, we've had reports for months at this point that Joe Biden's meeting with Republicans, and he even at one point jokingly, maybe jokingly, said he'd consider a Republican running mate. But what you have right now is you have a bunch of these so-called never Trump Republicans that have Biden's ear. These are prominent people. You got your Bill Kristols, your Steve Schmitz, all of these big-time Republican players who found themselves without a home after Trump took over because he basically kicked them out. And so now they're going to Biden and saying, well, hey, why don't we be Republicans for Biden? Why don't we help you? But it's not just that they hate Trump. What this team of rivals is let's make sure nothing changes. Things are good for us right now. They're good for Democrats. They're good for Republicans. They're good for corporations. We got to keep it the way it is without helping anybody.
And here's why, if the Democrats don't do something very soon, first thing, get rid of this character.
Yeah.
Get rid of him. Find a candidate that doesn't bring his baggage. Okay? Second thing that you do is you change your message, like we just talked about. The messages that they think are working. The hate, the counting on media, counting on celebrity, slosh, it doesn't work. The idea that Trump caused the coronavirus, it doesn't work. 45% approval rating today.
People want to hear issues.
They want to hear issues. That's exactly right. So as this thing goes forward, here's where this thing lands with this whole Biden Republican love affair. This has been going on since Bill Clinton.
Right.
Bill Clinton is the first person that changed the face. I mean, really changed the face of the Democratic Party. And he said, what we have to do is we have to embrace Wall Street. We have to embrace the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. We have to embrace all of these entities that take away the rights of consumers. They pollute. They make products that kill people. That's Wall Street. They take pension money from mom and pop. Those are our people now. Those are that's where establishment Democrat, run by a guy like Biden.
Well, he was involved in it.
He was part of all that. Yeah. That's exactly right. So all of a sudden, we're now at the point to where here's where I think it lands. I think it was a wonderful article. I think you've said this. You've written about this in Trial Lawyer magazine. And it is that when people find themselves in a place where they're comfortable, okay, and they have two bad choices, real bad choices.
Yeah.
They're going to stay the same.
Yeah.
The choice is stay where you are. What's your take?
Exactly. So many people right now, believe it or not, in spite of the headlines, they're no different than they were 4 years ago or even 8 years beyond that. Of course, the coronavirus obviously has changed things, but this is almost a one-off, okay? When you take that out of the equation, which maybe we can or can't do that before November, but a lot of people say, well, my income is basically the same. It hasn't gone up, but it hasn't gone down. Yeah, I didn't get that tax cut, but my taxes didn't go up. Yeah, I can't pay my medical bills, but I couldn't pay my medical bills under Obama.
Right. So what do? It's status quo.
You stay the course. And that's what Bush argued in 2004 against Kerry.
That's exactly
it was the same
right.
thing. They said, we're midstream. Why change horses now?
Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it. And Kerry should have beat. Right. I mean, if you looked at the numbers, he should have beat Bush. It's the same situation here. America's courts are expecting the largest surge ever in corporate and individual bankruptcies due to COVID-19. Large public companies are going to likely survive, but small businesses and individuals, well, they're not going to fare all that well. RT's Brigida Santos joins me to talk about that. Brigida, first of all, for those who aren't familiar with how the process works in bankruptcy, take a quick look at what's available to some of these companies that want to call on the bankruptcy legislation.
Sure. Look, bankruptcy is a court proceeding in which a judge examines the assets and liabilities of a company or individual that can't pay their bills to determine whether those debts will be forgiven, restructured, or even reduced. Now, the process is supposed to give people and failing businesses an opportunity at a fresh start. However, a bankruptcy does remain on a credit report for 7 to 10 years, so that certainly will have a negative effect. But still, it's supposed to be a safety net so creditors don't continue garnishing debtors' wages or filing lawsuits and liens against them. Historically, the courts see a rise in these bankruptcy cases whenever there's a rise in unemployment. Now, in the past 6 weeks, we've seen at least 30 million people in the United States file for unemployment due to the coronavirus recession. So those bankruptcy cases are likely going to hit the courts and start rising there accordingly.
And what you see is you see corporate raiders come in many times. We were talking earlier about the Eastern Airlines with Frank Lorenzo when he came in. He sold off assets. He got rid of pension programs. He got rid of the people that were, big salaried people at the top. He completely changed the face of Eastern Airlines to where it went out of business. But he was a corporate raider. And I'm wondering, you've got Neiman Marcus, you've got J.C. Penney, you've got J. Crew, you have Crystal Hamburgers, you got McClatchy News, you've got Pier 1 Imports. The list is massive of these major companies they look to me like they're going to take that route. They're probably going to use a Chapter 7. You're going to see corporate raiders come in and take advantage of all this. And what I'm wondering is, can the courts, can they even handle the flood of bankruptcy cases that they're expecting?
When these smaller companies file under Chapter 7, they're going to have a harder time than these bigger companies filing under Chapter 11, because under Chapter 7, a company has to stop all their operations. They go completely out of business, and a court-appointed trustee liquidates that company's assets to pay off those debts. Now, this happens and all employees, of course, lose their jobs. We're going to see a lot of Chapter 7 bankruptcies from small local businesses, including smaller retailers, restaurants, things like that. Now, when it comes to these bigger companies, they often have a larger liquidation value that's actually less than the revenue potential. So that's why they file under Chapter 11 of the U.S. Bankruptcy Code, which allows the company to continue operating while their debts and assets are restructured, as you were talking about earlier, so that the company can actually eventually pay their creditors back and hopefully even become profitable again. Now, prior to the pandemic, many airlines, including Delta, United, American, et cetera, they were actually able to get out of bankruptcy in under 4 years. They're in hot water now again, so we'll have to see how that plays out. But the courts are expecting a major backlog of cases, which could have an extremely negative impact on the already struggling economy. And once a person files for bankruptcy, the process typically takes about 6 months or more to complete. It could take even longer now. So experts are urging Congress to double the number of bankruptcy judges and support personnel. But we really need a better solution, because after bankruptcy, it's really hard for individuals and businesses to get new lines of credit or loans to start over. We're only seeing the beginning of the economic fallout from the pandemic, but these big corporations definitely have a leg up here.
Brigida, thank you for joining me. This story has just started. As I say, there's going to be a flood of major companies that are looking for Chapter 11 kind of protection, and it's going to be a way for them to reorganize in ways that are not going to be good for workers, not going to be good for the company in the long run, because they're going to be made really into a target for corporate raiders. That's the way I see this happening. We've seen it before as we've faced issues like this, emergency issues throughout history. And so my prediction is just going to repeat itself here. Thank you for joining me, okay?
Thanks, Mike.